Let me read to you a passage from the 9th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel, verses 46 to 50. It's the Gospel for Monday of the 26th week in Ordinary Time. St. Luke writes, "An argument started among the disciples of Jesus as to which of them would be the greatest. Jesus, knowing their thoughts, took a little child and made him stand beside him. Then he said to them, 'Whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For he who is least among you all, he is the greatest.' 'Master,' said John, 'we saw a man driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he is not one of us.' 'Do not stop him,' Jesus said, 'for whoever is not against you is for you.'" That's from Luke chapter 9, verses 46 to 50. Our Lord speaks of what it really means to be great. You know, when Philip, the father of Alexander the Great, ascended to the Macedonian throne, the country was virtually at the brink of collapse, and its neighbours were ready to put an end to its existence. The Macedonian state was further weakened by internal turmoil. Then, with consummate intelligence, Philip took the state in hand, and in 358 BC he met the Illyrians in battle with his reorganized Macedonian phalanx and utterly defeated them. The Macedonian army grew in size overnight and invaded Illyria itself, conquering all Illyrian tribes deep into the country, stopping short near the Adriatic coast. Philip made the military a way of life for the Macedonian men. It became a professional occupation that paid well enough that the soldiers could afford to do it year-round. Then began a stunning series of military victories and diplomatic steps that brought him to the pinnacle of Greek power and the threshold of his intended invasion of Persia. But then, of course, he was assassinated and the baton passed to his illustrious son. But what was the purpose of all this? It was the same as that of dynasty after dynasty in the history of the world. It was to found, establish and extend a kingdom. It was to be a kingdom of this world, and Alexander would take the Macedonian kingdom to its limits. The Roman Empire that eventually followed Alexander's ruthless adventures was also all about a kingdom. Behind this inveterate quest for a kingdom was a lunging, craving pride and thirst for temporal glory. As the first book of Maccabees says of Alexander, he advanced to the ends of the earth, gathering plunder from many nations. The earth fell silent before him, and his heart became proud and arrogant. And then he died. 1 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 3 to 5. The whole point was to reach the top and to receive a species of worship. It is well described by Satan when he attempted to entice Christ to seek a similar worldwide kingdom. He showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a single instant. He said to him, "I will give you all this power and the glory of these kingdoms. Prostrate yourself in homage before me, and it shall all be yours." Luke chapter 4 verse 5 to 7. Christ sent Satan packing. This is the context in which we ought to understand our gospel passage today that I read earlier. Our Lord's disciples knew that God's kingdom was being announced by the one who would be its king. It would be the greatest of kingdoms, and no earthly power could possibly prevail over it, for it was God's kingdom. It would conquer, and it would have the victory. The 12 loved Christ and had, with the tragic exception of Judas Iscariot, given their hearts to him. They would be his generals, the patriarchs of the new people, the foundation stones of the grand new edifice. But they had profound misconceptions of the reality ahead of them. Their model was that of the temporal kingdom. Even after our Lord had risen from the dead, as Luke, the author of our gospel passage today, describes in the Acts of the Apostles, the disciples imagined the kingdom as a political restoration and advance of the kingship to the children of Israel. Acts 1 chapter 6. So it is that in our passage today we find them thinking of what all who sought kingdoms and kingship sought: position, status, glory, power. We read that an argument started among the disciples of Jesus as to which of them would be the greatest. Luke chapter 9 verse 46. It was precisely this which constituted Satan's temptation of Jesus Christ. And it was precisely this which Satan had sought in heaven itself. He had sought the place of God, the greatest. His first intervention at the dawn of history was in this very direction. He tempted the woman to be like a god, able to know, that is, to decide on for herself good and evil. The woman chose to be like a god and went to the man who chose the same. They wanted to be the greatest. It is the grand temptation of free creatures. Why am I not like God? Why am I not God? Why cannot I not be God, or a God like God, able to decide for myself what is good and what is evil, what should or should not be done, what is true and what is false, what is real and what is not real? I shall be the greatest. Christ was the new man, the new Adam, and he chose the opposite. Then he said to them, "Whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For he who is the least among you, he is the greatest." Luke chapter 9 verse 46 to 50. All through history, the kingdoms of this world and their kings advance and conquer by pride, position, power and glory. The result is that they become the greatest for a time, and only in a sense. Such are the kingdoms of this world. But as Christ said to Pilate, the representative of one of the greatest kingdoms in human history, his kingdom was not of this world, though in him it was already in it. The path to victory of his kingdom was by being the least. It would come by means of humble obedience to God, by meekness, holiness, and unswerving adherence to the good. Let us set out on the path to victory then, by following in the footsteps of the crucified one.